Hello everyone, this is Kenji here again. I actually just wanted to rant and vent about my dad in this video. Man, my dad can be really hypocritical and annoying sometimes. So what happened is that my dad realizing my youngest sister's car is getting old and also taking up a lot of gas. He wanted to get a new car for her. So she's driving 2012 Honda Pilot right now. But his friend, he finds out that one of his friends is wanting to sell their 2013 or 11 whatever Lexus 250h. I forget the full the model name. Actually, let me look it up because I think Lexus CT 200h. So it's a hybrid hatchback that's supposed to be obviously very reliable because it's Lexus, right? Toyota. Anyways, so he finds out that one of his friends is trying to sell their car, and it's this 2012 CT 200h that they're trying to sell, and it only has about like 90,000 miles on it, as opposed to 2012 Honda Pilot my sister's driving currently, which has about 150,000 miles on it. So it's almost like double, right? And actually my sister, she had done like a bunch of repairs recently, which cost around $2,000 to $3,000. Anyways, my dad goes ahead and asks my sister if she's will be willing to sell the current car, Honda Pilot, right? And buy that new, or not new, but like a used Lexus CT 200h. And my sister was like, yeah, sure, like I think my current car is having a lot of trouble, or it's costing a lot of gas money right now, so she was open to the idea of like selling it and buying that used car. So my dad was like, okay, like I'm going to ask him to bring the car over tomorrow. So I was like asking my dad, okay, like that, like what is the model of the car? And he was like, I don't know, but they were gonna bring it over. And I was like, okay, how much are they selling it for? And he was like, oh, they I don't know, but they're probably thinking about like selling it for maybe $8,000, because when they took it to CarMax to sell it, or at least to get a quote, they quoted it at $6,500, but when they looked up on how much it sells on the dealership, or from a private party, it was selling it like 11,000, 10,000. So they thought it would be fair for them to maybe sell it at $8,000, right in the middle. So I was like, okay, like fair enough, but like, can you ask them what the exact model of the car is, so we can like look it up on our end, to see like the fair price on it, maybe on Kelly Blue Book. And my dad was like, no, like I don't want to ask them. I was like, why? And my dad was like, well, I feel bad for them to asking too many questions. I'm like, Dad, it's not asking too many questions. You're trying to buy a car, you're trying to spend your hard-earned money, and $8,000 is not a small amount of money either. You know, why don't you ask them what the model of the car is so we can like look it up? And he's like, oh, like I feel bad for asking too many questions still. I'm like, Dad, like what's wrong with you? Like, why are you feeling bad for the other person? You're the one that's spending money right here. Your hard-earned money. Like, you always tell us how important it is to penny pinch and save, you know, save money in every angle and every way possible as you can. And he was like, no, I feel bad still. I was like, you know what, forget it, right? But I think, yeah, so he ends up like not asking. And then I think the next day they bring the car for my sister to test drive it. And you know, he finally finds out the model of the car and stuff. And you know, rather like happened really quickly, and he ended up buying the car from him because my sister really liked the car, right? So as soon as you know they got the car, I go out there to you know check it out myself. And then as I was like walking out, or actually yeah, I went with my mom to get in the car to test drive it. And then as we get in, my mom tells me that there seems to be some kind of issue because there's like this little rattling noise coming from the front hood of the car, and they don't know what it is. And apparently my dad already took the car to the body shop or repair shop and to get it checked, and they didn't really have time to check it out, so they told him to come back next week, right? So my dad, he takes it back, brings it back, and told my mom that there seems to be some kind of issue. And I was like, wait, really? Like, why didn't he notice it, you know, when he was test driving it? And turns out that he never test drove it. He only had my sister test drive it, and since she liked it so much, he decides to just buy it. So after I go for a test drive, I noticed that too. It's not like constant noise, but it would like come and go. And I was like, yeah, that noise, I do hear that noise, and it was kind of concerning, or it wasn't like too loud, it was not like too obvious, but it's definitely there. So I come back and I walked up to my dad and I asked him, Dad, how come you did not test drive this car before deciding to buy it? And my dad was like, well, your sister really liked it, so I just bought it. What's wrong with it? I'm like, okay, but there's this issue she didn't notice, and this issue that you're noticing right now that wasn't, you know, that was not made aware when you're buying it from your friend. You know, you could have found out about it had you decided to test drive it, right? I'm telling you that had you test driven it, it could have been prevented. At least like this issue you would have noticed, and you could have asked the seller about the issue if they were they were aware of that as well. And my dad was like, well, your sister really liked it, so like I just bought it, you know, it just doesn't matter. I'm like, well, it does matter, because what if, you know, when you take the car to dealership, or I mean repair shop next week, and the repair cost might turn out to be like $2,000 or $3,000 if it's a major issue. And what are you gonna do about it, right? That means you're gonna end up actually paying not only $8,000 but $10,000 or even $11,000 for the car, right? So you're actually buying the car at a much higher price than you thought you were buying for. And then my dad is like, it doesn't matter if I could just like, sell it to CarMax if like the issue costs that much. Okay, I'm like, if you take the car back to, or if you decide to sell it at CarMax, they quoted at $6,500, so basically you're losing money there. You're losing like $1,500. And he was like, okay, like not a big deal. I'm like, what do you mean it's not a big deal? You just lost $1,500 because you made such a careless mistake, or you just careless overlook on your part, right? Because you should have test driven the car before deciding to buy it. Like, what kind of person does not test drive the car before they buy it? And he kept saying the same thing. Your sister like drove it. I'm like, yeah, but she doesn't know much about a car. You're the one that knows a lot about a car. So why didn't you test drive it? Like, it doesn't make any sense. And as I'm now like talking about this, one thing I realized is that he probably thought that, asking like his friend if he could test drive himself too might actually made his friend feel uncomfortable. Maybe he felt bad for possibly asking his friend if he could test drive the car, right? Because he was so concerned about his friend's feelings, right? And this is the part this is the recurrent theme or pattern of my dad, because somehow he thinks like he cares too much about like other people's feelings. He very often goes above and beyond to make sure the other person is not offended or is not like in a bad mood, or like he did not say or do anything that might have made them feel uncomfortable, right? And even asking such a simple question, simply asking what the model of the car is, he's worried about, right? If that's going to bother them. And let's assume that it does bother them. But like, okay, but aren't you bothered by the fact that aren't you bothered by not knowing what kind of car you're buying? Not researching enough before you make such a big purchase? Like, why are you so concerned about whether or not they're going to be bothered by you or by your actions? And this is where I feel like that's really hypocritical of him, though, because like often he's very concerned about how other people may feel and stuff, but like growing up, he never really seemed to care much about how we feel, right? Like, he would say stuff, a lot of really, really mean, insensitive things, and he would make really demeaning remarks about us growing up, not really seeming to care about our feelings and how we like may feel when he makes such really mean or dismissive comments about us. But here I see him like caring so much about like how other people may feel. That seems very, really, really hypocritical of him. And if you actually think about it, on the surface, so I feel like a lot of times he's virtue signaling, right? He's trying so hard to appear like come off as of like this kind of like person who's really, really compassionate, maybe, who's really nice, who's really sincere and genuine, maybe. And I feel like he's just playing this facade, right? That's really not genuine, or that's not really real him. And I think he also deludes his. I feel like he's really deluding himself, also thinking that he's a good person, he's a nice person, because he cares a lot about other people. But if you look a little further into this behavior of his, I feel like he's doing that out of like selfish reason. So on surface, it may look like he cares about the other people and other people's feelings and emotions, right? But if you look a little deeper, he's actually caring a lot about himself, because he wants to make sure that the other people consider him and sees him as this kind of type of person that's really, really nice, that's really generous, that's really compassionate, who cares a lot who deeply cares about other people, right? So he wants to be seen as this really, really nice person. So that's why I'm saying it comes from a place of selfishness, because on surface it seems like he's caring about the other people, but it's actually caring about himself, because he's caring a lot about his self-image. Is deeply concerned about his how he may be perceived by other people, if that makes sense. But I don't think he realizes this, and sometimes I try to point out to him that this type of behavior or this type of actions where he would go miles trying to really make sure that other people are not bothered by him, and to make sure that he shows caring action towards his friends or other people. It's not coming from a place of care, but it's coming from a place of selfishness. It's coming from a place of almost being even obsessed, right? Obsessed with how he's perceived by other people. And it's going to be really, really hard for him to deal with and to handle if other people actually may not think so highly of him. And it's going to really, really bother him if other people may feel or may think maybe lowly of him, right? May not think he's that great. And yeah, it will be so hard for him to deal with that fact, right? And yeah, it just, like I said, it's just a repeating pattern of his life, this apologetic behavior towards other people. And even today, he had, like, one of his friends brought some pastry, and then when he finds out that he bought, like, it was one of the tenants that brought this, like, box of pastry, and when he finds out that this tenant brought him this box of pastry, he calls them up immediately saying, "Oh, like, why did you bring this pastry? Like, you shouldn't have done it. I feel so bad for you. I feel so bad. Like, you shouldn't have done it. Why you bought so much?" And I'm thinking, okay, like, when someone does nice things for you, just say, you're thankful. Just appreciate it. Stop saying you feel bad for them. Like, why do you feel bad for someone's showing you or doing nice things for you? Right? Stop saying you feel bad for them. They did it because they care about you. They like you, maybe. They wanted to show gratitude, maybe. So show your gratitude back. show your appreciation back. But he always does this, like, say these things about, like, I feel so bad. And I feel like, in a way, I feel like he thinks so lowly of himself that he doesn't even deserve other people being nice to him, right? He feels like, I feel like he strongly believes that he does not deserve nice gestures from other people. That's why he keeps saying, oh, I feel bad. I don't deserve this, right? I don't deserve your niceness. I don't deserve you doing this thing for me. You shouldn't have done it because I'm not someone who deserves this. Right? I feel like it's really such a complicated, complex, I guess, psychological landscape.